Welcome back to the Carrot and Stick podcast, a podcast series where we try to get under the skin of all things performance management and motivation to understand what makes our wonderful industry tick. Today, I'm sitting down with a very old friend of OneUp's, Patrick Waits, the co-founder of Coltech Global. He actually is speaking to us as the first ever company to speak to them while they're in their brand new Austin-based office. A very exciting time for the business. We have a good chat about why they've gone out towards the US, given their name is Coltech Global. It's not that big of a surprise, is it? We also go through coaching and mentoring, and probably quite critically the difference between them and the impact that has had on Patrick as an individual, and also start things off talking about the lessons they've learned over the last 5 years of running Coltech Global and building it to where it is today. It's a really good conversation. There's some great barbecue recommendations in there in case you do ever get out towards Austin. But without further ado, let's get into it. Patrick Waits, co-founder of Coltech Global. Patrick, pleasure to have you on. And I said to you before we went live that the one thing I wanted to ask you is, what the Nora is that massive building set behind you? I know you're in your wonderful new office in Austin. What is that building?
That is the Frost building.
The Frost building?
It's got a funny story behind it, actually. So in Austin, you've got Austin Texas University, which they're the football teams, the Longhorns, and then Rice University is a different university, obviously. But the person who designed the building went to Rice University, and if you can't see it, but at the top, it's like got like different like funny points. So it's shaped like an owl, which is the logo of Rice University, and he'd done it as a little bit of a two fingers up to the Longhorns, basically.
I love that. That feels like classic American culture to be competitive against each other in some way.
Yeah, but it's a great building, great view, really exciting. Yes, you are the first person I'm speaking to from our Austin office. So it's exciting times.
Perfect, mate. It's very exciting times, and we'll no doubt come into that a bit later as well, because one of those three topics that we spoke about was the US expansion, the why, how have you prepared yourself, why Austin, and we'll talk through that, no doubt. Before we get to that, the two topics that we sort of spoke about earlier was lessons from the last 5 years. It's not bang on today, the company's 5-year birthday, is it? I'm guessing it was is it a month or two either side, or?
Yeah, the 4th of February. We was 5 years old.
There you go. So just gone past that. And then also a piece around coaching and mentoring, because I know you've got loads to talk about on that. So let's unpack that first one then. I'm like you. I could tell stories all day long about the mistakes that we've made in running this company and growing it to where it is, but it's all about you today. Talk to me then. What have you done right and wrong over the last 5 years? And we'll start with maybe the biggest mistakes that you feel you've learned from.
I think when we started, we had an idea of what we wanted the company to be, slightly different, not a typical recruitment business, much more around team building, project delivery, and that type of thing. And we started off really, really well, grew, and started hiring people. And as the markets change, and the business sort of changed, and as we were scaling, we sort of fell back into becoming more of a traditional recruitment business. Then we changed again. So basically, the biggest mistake, one of the main mistakes that we made, is too many changes within the business. We didn't have a plan and stick to it. Obviously, sometimes you do have to, divert from plan slightly and pivot. But one of the biggest mistakes we've had, is just consistently changing what we're doing and moving people into different positions. So not having that consistency with our staff, I think that's been a massive learning curve for us.
I've got to ask, what was it that you tried then? Because you say like those words, typical recruitment business, and I imagine that conjures up a certain image. Why were you so keen from day one to be different? Did you just believe that different format was far superior, or what was it that led to you towards that?
Yeah, as we spoke about earlier, like the model around sort of project teams, outcome-based delivery is something that I'd been doing in my previous role, in my first job, and that saw the business skyrocket. It was much more value-based offering to clients in terms of actually project delivery teams, and financially it was better for the company, obviously, because you're putting in teams of people, and it's much more easier to predict revenues and so on and so forth. And fundamentally, for me, it's a much more interesting sell, actually going in, finding out what the issues are, selling the solution against it, delivering an outcome. That doesn't necessarily mean against a full statement of work on deliverables or a time materials basis, but actually finding out what the client's looking to do and building a team to help them get from point A to point B was something that I really liked and was important to me to bring into the business when we started it. when I say typical recruitment company, that's not a slant or to say that that's not the right way to do it. There's been hundreds of thousands, millions of different companies that have
There's a reason why it's the typical one, right? It
yeah,
works. Yeah.
yeah, it works really well. So there's like the 360 style. I find it to be, it can be quite transactional. There's a lot of chasing your tail in terms of sort of making a single play, like new clients picking up work, putting in ones and twos and then moving on. I just find it, again, it works really, really well because there's hundreds of companies that have been really, really successful out of doing it that way. It's just for me personally, that wasn't what we wanted to, how I wanted to start the business or the type of business I wanted to grow. And then what we found was the reason there's a typical recruitment business is there's a very formulated way of scaling that business, tried and tested. That's the model, and it worked well. So trying to scale the way we struggled. We didn't really know how to. When do you add people in? How do you grow the teams? And there wasn't really for us wasn't really trigger points that you'd get in a normal business, whereas you hit this GP, add 2 people under, and then grow that way. So we switched the model to that sort of 360 model because we felt that it would help us scale. But through switching, you then put in sort of square pegs into round holes because we had BD and delivery/account management. Asking the people that was doing account management, more delivery and account management, to now become BD people. Which is difficult because it's a completely different skill set. And again, probably one of the reasons why I like the 180 model, which we're now working in really successfully, is that people who are good at BD. Like for me personally, I was always like client facing. I didn't really like the actual recruitment side of it in terms of of finding the candidates and managing that process. It was never something that really interested me. But there are people that much prefer that and are really, really, really skilled in it, and it's a vital job in what we do. So it's difficult to sometimes move people who are really keen on BD and then try and ask them to come do the 360 side. But then also the people that were more suited to account management, to then ask them to start doing BD side, it was just a bit foreign to them and it was difficult. So we lost some people because of that. I think we'll go into it later in terms of the international expansion, but one of the mistakes we made there was not having we had a plan, but again, the trigger points, when do we go out there? How do we set the office up? So that wasn't there. So some of the people that we had work in the US market from the UK, without sort of knowing it, was moving well. We knew it, but without meaning to, moving the goalpost slightly. So then that sort of demotivates people, and it's very difficult to then keep people on the charge to want to really work really, really hard, because they'll think that this is happening, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we've worked it out wrong, and actually we have to do this. So having a real financial plan and understanding like the steps that we actually have to make to scale and for the expansion, and then having people in the right jobs is been a big learning curve over the last 5 years. So we had a real big sit down about about 9 months ago now, where it's like, right, we need to really look at what we're doing and put the foot in the ball. Went back to the original model of services, solutions, productizing how we work, splitting people, account management and BD, and then from there it's gone really well. And now, we're out in Austin, so
can't be going too bad.
It's picked up. But again, I think, like I mentioned to you earlier, everyone talks about the successes and how great everything is, but you'd be lying if you said that there weren't challenges in the learning curves, like massive learning curves, and times where you think to yourself, are we doing the right thing here? Are we messing up? How do we go about it? So I think over the last 4.5, 5 years, it's been a massive learning curve, and now we're on it seems like we're on the right path. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the business has been profitable every single year, and we've grown financially. It's just, we've learned a lot.
Maybe not quite growing the way that you'd have wanted it to in that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, financially, it's we've done really well. We've always had a good GP. We've always been profitable every year, so that's not been a problem. I think it's just I'm very much still in the weeds of the business, which isn't bad in terms of I'm still client facing, still going out winning work. I would like to, at this point, have been more sort of a little bit more out of it, and built a team beneath me a bit more. And that's no slant on the people that we've had work for us over the past 5 years, because some of them have gone on to set up their own businesses. A lot of them are out in the US now working with other businesses. So they've been really good. I think we've just learned a lot, and yeah,
I
now
feel
we're in a
it's like
position.
it's constant advice you get as a founder. It's like, oh, you need to learn to step out of the day to day and step back. And then here you are being client facing. Here I am hosting a podcast for us. It feels like we
Yeah,
never really get away from it, do we?
yeah. But at the same time,
But
I
we
never
enjoy
want
it.
to. I
That's
never
it.
want to get out of it. Like, I want to be client facing all the time because it's what I love to do.
Mm.
So that's not going to change. I'm always going to go, for the foreseeable future, be involved in the sales. It's like the day to day, cold
The
calling
delivery
and
may be less so your thing, but the actual
yeah,
speaking to customers, yeah.
yeah. Like speaking to going, what my idea would be in the next year or so, I'd just be, go out and meet clients for for big
Sounds to me
meetings
like
and
you
sell
just
them
really, really
solutions.
like the steak dinners that come with that.
Yeah, come yeah, basically, and then especially out in Austin.
I was about to say,
Um,
mate, oh, I'm out there in next month. I can't wait for the barbecue out there. It's the best thing in the world.
yeah, it's really really good. I'm here for a month now, so
I'm
I've
jealous.
I've bought a lot of elastic waisted trousers because they're
I
not going
got
to
no
fit
doubt.
me when I get home.
Yeah, we'll come on to Office in a bit because I do really want to ask you a load about that. I think back to a couple of years ago, you and I actually had a conversation at the time, and you were doing like a Coltech consulting kind of thing, weren't you? And it was like a cloud sort of advisory sort of piece that was sort of
Yeah,
standing as an aside to the recruitment, being
yeah.
involved in the services and solutions that you offered. Are you still doing that? And is that the kind of thing that you refer to when you say it's more than just looking to do 360 recruitment for someone?
Yeah, so what we did at that stage, we'd split the businesses. So we had Coltech Recruitment, Coltech Consulting, two separate businesses, and the consulting business was full on taking on outcome-based, deliverable-based work on statements of work, and then the recruitment side was more,
Recruitment.
360 recruitment. We're doing a lot of perm through that side of the business as well.
Mm.
Um, and then what happened is I think the markets of 2021, 2022. Like it was, we talk about social media not being people putting out a different story on there, but everyone was having record months, record quarters. It was a higher time for the industry because every company was growing off the bounce from the pandemic.
Yep.
So it felt to us it would be a bit silly not to jump on the bandwagon and obviously do a lot of perm work. We've done loads of perm in the UK and the US. So then the consulting side sort of dropped down, and we parked it because this was going really well again. And that's another case of sort of flip flopping slightly. And then it was like, well, actually, we really like to do this. So rather than having two separate companies now, it's one company, Coltech, and we do project delivery. So it's not all the way a consultancy business. We're not a consultancy. We don't claim to have full-time permanent tech staff or anything else. It's all associate basis, but we're not a recruitment business that's bums on seats. It's much more, it's sort of in the middle, and what we describe ourselves as a capability partner, capability as a service. So the services would be a virtual bench, which is, if you need burst capability, extra people onto projects or key contract hires that come from that virtual bench. Rapid response would be a fully packaged team that we pass to the client that they can manage to deliver new pieces of work. And then we've got the project delivery side. So we've still got our tech advisory board, which is like CTO, CISO, CIO, Chief Digital Officer, that can come into clients, discuss the project needs that they have, where they're looking to go, and then build the roadmap, advise on that type of stuff for us then to then build a team to deliver the project.
Yep.
So we do lean towards that consultancy side, but we're not looking to be a full-on consultancy like maybe we were a few years ago.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. And what are the big lessons would you say if you were speaking to someone who's just about to get started with their first recruitment business, still very much lights behind the eyes, extremely excited, for example, what would you warn them to be careful of in those first 5 years?
I think some of the things I mentioned around flip-flopping is a big thing that I advise people not to do. Now there's a case of like you have to pivot. Like I say, sometimes the market dictates that this is going. We should look at this way of working, or we should look at this, or that's one thing. But moving people around within your organisation and changing their jobs, changing the goalposts, changing targets, whatever it may be, consistently is something that I'd warn against. Now, again, there's a time and a place. Some other people would advise that, you should change commission structures every so often to, because of, whatever reason there has to be to do that. Moving people into different roles is important. But I think unless you've got someone who puts their hands up and say, I'd like to do this type of job, or I'd like to move into that area of the business, then just coming into the office one day and saying, right, everyone, by the way, you're all 360 now. That was a bit of a stupid idea. Or so just trying to stick to keeping people in a job that they've been hired to do is something that I'd suggest, which we've maybe not done in the past. I think it's really important to know what you are or what you want to be as a business. Why, like if you're setting up a recruitment business, for instance, why is it? Because you want to start you want to do it as a lifestyle choice. You're a senior consultant, you just want to have a bit more freedom, and you think having your own agency and working for yourself is important, then great. Or is it, you've got the bit between the teeth and you want to scale a really big business, like, open up offices internationally and so on and so forth, then you have to know what, you have to have a why of a reason for doing it. So that's really important, because I was speaking to some people, like a couple of people actually recently, who are in a position where they're like, I don't know whether to start up, or I don't know whether to get a different, like an MD role, or move somewhere else. And so, I think you've answered the question for yourself already. You're not ready to start up, because that you have to. For me, when we started Coltech, it was really not the right time financially. I didn't have much money any money saved up. I think we had a house. It was just like the mortgage, so on and so forth. It was, I needed money really, but it was like I had the bit between my teeth. I know this is going to work, and so and the fire in my belly to do it. So unless you've got that, like the absolute desire, and know that this is what you want to do, then I'd suggest not to do it.
It's like having a chip on your shoulder and a point to prove and being stubborn to a degre.
Yeah. 100%. It's like, everyone said to me, what are you doing? You're stupid. Even my wife. We had to move back to my mum's house, which was fun.
Imagine trying to justify that. Yeah, honey, I'm really sorry. Yeah. We can't move into our own place anymore and go back in with monks and start my own business. They'd be like, what?
Yeah, well, we lived together, obviously, in the house, and then I said, look, if I'm gonna start this, then we're gonna have to move home, like back to my mum's. And yeah, surprisingly, she took it quite well. I think she was happy, like someone's gonna cook dinner every night, and my mum to do that stuff. No, she, and that was really important to me. Like my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, is like super supportive, even though we knew it wasn't probably the right time, but there never is. So my advice would be two things. If you've made the jump and you're going to do it, make sure you have a plan and try to stick to it. I know what you want to do with the business and try and stick with that. Of course, pivot at times we need to do, but don't completely flip the business 360 when you've got people working, or 180 when you've got people working for you, and expect them not to have an issue with it. And then two, if you're umming and ahhing and still interviewing or like looking at other businesses that you could work for, rather than start, then don't go and work for another business. I think
very fair.
Is two bits that I'd say.
Like it. Nice. You spoke about this a little bit before we came live as well. Like one big part of this is, coaching and mentoring as well. You said you've had a good few mentors across your career too. It was more, we were talking at the time about like mentoring and coaching new people into the industry. But imagine on your own side, like I hear people who have been in an industry for 30 plus years have still got multiple mentors to go around to inside of a month, for example. Before we really dig into details of that though, in your view, what is the difference between a coach and a mentor? Because I imagine some people are already thinking that, listen to this. What is the difference between those two things?
I think a coach is both really, really super important jobs, to be honest with you, to be fair, as a leader. And you can be a mentor and a coach, but a coach is someone who does exactly that. You might have someone who teaches you skills or hones your skills and helps you improve in your day-to-day work as a consultant. So they might hear your pitch and catch you doing something really good and say, well done, or catch you doing things that are saying something that maybe isn't quite right and redirect you, and then doing the training, one-to-ones, role plays, all that type of thing, showing you how to do things, and yeah, that's a coach. And then a mentor for me is someone that goes like a little bit deeper than that. You've got more of a you could talk about other stuff,
More
dig
of
a
like a
little bit
long-term
deeper.
guide in a way, maybe, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and I've had what I describe as a mentor, someone that leads from the front a bit more, maybe. So they're doing the job, but you can see that they're out with you, doing the client pitches, doing the intros, but then also talking to you about other stuff outside of work. That may be affecting performance in other ways, or just guiding you in certain things. Like we spoke about him earlier. My first boss in recruitment, Siri, like I'd speak to him about all different types of things, and ask him loads of questions about. And even now, 15 years, or however many years it is, 12 years later, I'll ring him and speak to him about what's going on in the business and how we can help. Advice that he'd give. And it's just about that advising on certain other things, not just day-to-day performance. I think is really important. And that's where I'd say a coach is sort of day-to-day performance based, helping you improve, which is super important. A mentor is someone that's sort of a level above that, or digs a little bit deeper, and offers advice on separate things other than. And not saying that people who own businesses or leaders should become agony aunts and listen to everyone's problems and take that in. That's not the point. But seeing someone. And one of the really important things, someone like even just someone coming into your team at 20, 22, 23, whatever it may be, and they're one way, someone like me, brash, chip on my shoulder, thought I was the the dog's bollocks or whatever, and having that air about me, to then sort of going through the business and through working with people and developing. Not changing as a person, because I still think I'm the bollocks now.
I tell you what, my editor loves messing about with these clips. He's going to have your life for that one.
No, but seeing people develop and change and grow, and helping them go on that journey of of growing their career is what I love, and what I think being a mentor to people is a little bit more about than being a day-to-day coach.
Yeah, got it. And then when it comes to, let's take Coltech as a great example, right? You guys hire people, the team obviously builds and grows. If you know the importance of coaches and mentors, how do you try and ensure those two things are, I guess, present for those that are coming into not just Coltech for the first time, but maybe even the industry for the first time as well?
Yeah, it's difficult. Like coaching is obviously you do your training and and everything else, and the performance side of it, that's always there. Because it has to be. You have to be good at coaching. You have to be good at training people, developing people, because otherwise you just never ever grow, or no one will ever be successful because they're not going to learn. The mentoring side, I think people have to want it. You can't say, "Derry, I'm going to be your mentor," because you might as well be like, "Fuck off!" Like, I'm here to do
I
my
don't
job.
want you.
I'm just here to do my job. I'm happy to get my money, and some people will are fine with that. I think the offers. It's not something. Not something that you offer out in terms of, do you want me to mentor you? But it's like you end up falling into that relationship ends up happening like naturally, like by osmosis of working together and building a relationship, and then you start to feel that you can help this person a little bit more outside of work stuff or just in personal development or whatever it is. That just naturally happens, I think.
I guess maybe when you start to get that relationship, kind of like they look up to you in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form, and you feel compelled to help that person through whether it's believing in their work ethic or what they're like as a person. It could be anything, right? But it kind of comes before you even have the conversation about it being a thing.
And then 100%. It just sort of naturally develops over a period of time as your relationship develops with that person, and as your working relationship and personal relationship does. I like to think that I offer that type of, that my door is always open type relationship with people. I mean, it's difficult as well, because there's been times when, and this happens with everyone, that sometimes the lines can get blurred between friendship and work. There has to be that respect there. So yeah, but I think that as your relationship within work builds, you're leading from the front. They're looking up to you, like the person who works with you looks up to you because, and you can see that, and you see something in them, whether it is like, as I say, their personality, the way they work, their work ethic, something your fondness of that person and their fondness of you in a
Mm.
working way sort of develops, and then that mentorship sort of comes on. You're not going to be a mentor to every single person that ever works for you. It's never going to happen. But you'll probably find that there'll be a handful that over the years that you, I mean, there's people that worked with me or work for us that don't anymore that I still speak to quite regularly because we've got that relationship. And I think that's really important. So that's the difference. It's a much more higher level, deeper level thing that you can't offer to everyone. Whereas coaching, you can offer that to everyone. Now, everyone who works for you is going to go through a training process. You're going to help them because it's in your interest and their interest to improve. But the mentorship and that relationship just will happen over a period of time, or it won't, and that's fine as well.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's a really good way to kind of think about it. I think it just build over time. You don't just ask the question. It's something that builds as the relationship grows, right? So it does always come to an
Yeah.
interesting question because people often get told during their career, you got to find a mentor, someone that can really help you progress further as times go by. That must be quite daunting, just being told, go and find a mentor. Just go and find one.
Yeah.
It's that easy. And people don't really know where to start. So if you ever have like someone in your team come to you and be like, I really feel like I need a mentor to grow and develop, but I've got no idea where to start. What kind of advice are you offering to them at that point? Are you
So
saying to
it's
look
got a bit.
internally and find someone inside that they want to take a like inspiration from? Is it more go external or?
So I've been really lucky personally. Like, I can only really speak from my personal experience. Um, I've had so obviously Siri, who I mentioned. Worked with Gary when we started the business, and I still speak to him all the time. Spoke to him today. Um, Offer advice. There's a couple of other people that we've worked with as a business that I like to take advice from. Um, but I would say that probably Siri and Gary have been the closest in terms of mentors to me, and that as again, those relationships just happened over a period of time. When someone says you've got to go out and find a mentor, I suppose what someone's really saying is you've got to find someone in your industry that you look up to and learn from, uh, more so than anything. And you could do that like hundreds of different ways. Like you just find someone that you particularly um, like what you see from them, or like what they do from the business, and reach out and be like, look, I've really exactly that. I really like what you're doing as a business. I think you guys are great, and I'd love to you know, I'd love to have a conversation with you about, how you've done that. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you're asking someone straight up, can you be my mentor? Because that's a bit of a weird thing to ask, I think. But it's asking for advice, and then again, that advice you might get a little snippet from this person or a snippet. That's why it's been so good for us to be part of the RDLC, because there's 300 different business leaders that you can take snippets from all the time. Now, I'm not going to say that, you know, people in there I would describe as mentors, but they're peers that we can share ideas with. But I would say that the relationship that I've built up with Siri and Gary over a period of time has then morphed into that sort of mentorship or friendship, where I can ask them business stuff and they'll tell me very, very straight, Pat, you're being an idiot, and I'll listen to them. Whereas there might be some other people, or other times when, as I say, you can't mentor everyone because other people tell me I'm an idiot, and I'll tell them, no, you're an idiot.
Tell them piss
So
off, yeah.
yeah, so even though they might have been right at the time, so I think it's you go out, ask for advice from people in your sector or your industry that you respect or you see that are doing things that you'd want to do, and then through getting, as I said, through like osmosis or through building relationships, those mentorships or those relationships just grow, and that will lead into that.
Nice. Okay, cool stuff there. I want to ask about the other really exciting thing, and we started the podcast this way, so we'll end it as our third topic for this one: US expansion. Got to ask the first question. Like, I think everyone sure would love to know as well. Why? Why Austin? Why the US? Why now?
So that I mentioned earlier, it's always like when we started the business, I always had this grand plan of taking over the world, um, or like expanding globally and having different international offices. And obviously the US was always always a thing for me to do. massive market, The economy's
Huge. Yeah.
huge. I think Texas economy is bigger than the UK's alone, and it's just just massive opportunity for expansion. Um, so that was the first thing. The US was like, let's go out there, and then it was like, what areas are we going to do? I think we set up the US entity actually 6 months after starting Coltech. So I think it was February we started Coltech as a business, and then we registered the US entity in September 2019. Didn't do anything with it to start off with. We just had it there because we knew it was something that we wanted to do in the future. And then once we'd got established in the UK and we had a really good weekly GP and we had a good team, and that was doing really well, it was like, well, I can now move out of that and start this US thing. My business partner run the UK side, and I run and focus on the US. I went with Austin, probably for the reason that in this office building that I'm in now, about 15 other UK recruitment businesses. I don't know if it's actually 15, but there's a few.
You'll have to tell me the name of that building so I can go and rummage through it when I come over.
There's a lot. It's walking down, you probably throw a stone down Congress Avenue and you'll hit a UK recruiter now, I think.
I do remember like 5 years or so ago, loads of recruiters from the UK started opening offices in Austin. It was that kind of new hotbed to be where there was a lot of tech going on. I think of tech recruiters because we saw companies like Salesforce, for example, have got an office out there, one of the biggest brands in the world, right? It's becoming a bit of a hotspot for tech, and as a result, recruitment.
Yeah, so I mean, like there's like Tesla, Facebook, Apple, Dell, Oracle, Salesforce. There's like hundreds of massive lots of sort of massive enterprise companies, and then there's like loads of startups, and then off the back of those larger companies, smaller startups, scale up businesses. There's a huge amount of investment in like 2021, 2022 coming into Austin. So yeah, it's become a tech hotbed. I think because of the tax laws. It's there's no state tax, just federal. So a lot of businesses were moving from California, for instance, here, which then brought a lot of talent, which then obviously off the back of that spun up loads of other little businesses. So that's obviously a big reason for it. You're in a hotbed of tech organizations. Tax was a big thumbs up, which probably leads to why there's a lot of businesses here anyway.
Definitely.
And then, like you said earlier, it's just a great place to be. It just really is.
Austin is a great city, especially. Yeah.
No, it's a fun place. There's lots to do. Like I've got obviously my wife and kids are here now. I
was about to say, are you moving out there? Because this is always the thing you hear a lot is, business leaders or someone senior should be moving out when you're opening an office in the US. Are you moving out there full time at some point, or?
No. That was a conversation that went backwards and forwards as well. I've got a visa, so I could, but I'm coming out. So I'm here for a month now, and then I'll go home, and then I'm out here every sort of 4 to 6 weeks. We've hired like quite a senior team here that doesn't need me necessarily to be sitting there driving. I've got a UK business to look at as well. But
got it.
Yeah, I'll be out here every 4 to 6 weeks, and then over a period of time, I might be here for a week, and then next time 2 weeks, and then I might spend another month here or whatever else. We're just gonna that's the plan anyway. But
barbecue on the regular, that sounds like to me.
Well, the office that we're in is like 3 doors down from like Cooper's, which is
I've been told I need to check out Franklin's, but the queue there is always huge.
Yeah, you got to camp.
Really? Is it that bad?
For a couple of days, yeah, apparently. I've never been for that reason. Terry Black's is good, obviously, but yeah, my favourite is Cooper's. And then there's a place out in the hill country called Salt Lick, which we went to this weekend. This Monday we drove up there, and that was really nice. But we went with the whole family. So mum, dad, my sister flew in from San Francisco yesterday. My wife, kids, my aunt, my little cousin, and then two of our me and my wife's friends flew out last night. So yeah, it's a big family affair. But that's another really great thing about it, is that you can have there's so much to do for families, for the kids, and and if you're a young professional, there's not many better places, I don't think, in terms of bars, restaurants, things to do, and of an evening environment. Just lots of everyone that I've met here wants to achieve. something, which is good to be around that energy. The city's buzzing constantly. There's conferences every night, meet up. So yeah, all of that put together. So I made Austin as the first spot where we're going to land. But the plan is to have by 2030 6 different locations across the US. So
Nice.
next spot is going to be.
I won't pry into the secrets about exactly what place you're thinking about there, but what surprised you the most so far about expanding out to the States? I know it's early doors and you guys officially open in a couple of weeks, but what surprised you during the setup?
I've been working the US market from the UK now for 2 years in build up to get to the position that we're here. I think the setup, every state's completely different. So in terms of tax laws, employment laws, everything else, so that's something to get your head around. You have to understand that, because we still, although we're based in Austin, we've got clients all over the US. So you just got to understand that those sort of those legal, the legal side of it. The most surprising, yeah, we've brought in, or we've got help from outside, like legal, like lawyers and tax advisors and everything else that have been great. So they're a lot smarter than I am. Obviously, it's not difficult, but they've helped us a lot. The way contract works in terms of W2 versus 1099, that's a big thing for me to get my head around, because when you're a W2 employee, you still get the benefit, or a W2 contract, you still get the benefits of a full-time employee. It's similar to IR35 in the UK, but then you have to have a partner like PGC or another employment record that you put them through. So there's service charges that come on that, which then you have to push onto the client. So then you have to make sure that the rates, that was
the cost really stack up. For
me, that was the hardest thing to get my head around to start off with. Well, how are we going to make this work? Well, like when we started doing perm, because I was just like, I don't know how we're going to make contract work. Like, honestly, because of all the charges and so on and so forth, and we quickly worked out that it does. But that was something there was lots of different things. The biggest surprise was the visa process was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought that it was when I got there's lots of paperwork to do, but again, we had an immigration lawyer who helped us do it all, which has made the process really smooth.
Well, I'm guessing you've got an O1, right?
I got an E1 visa, but it's E1 or E2 is what
right. Okay, fair.
we go for. We went for E1 because we'd already done a lot of business in the US before we was applying for the visa, and we could do it off the back of the money that we'd put into, because we had the US entity already and there was money in the bank, and we could do it off the back of that. I think E2 is more around where we've paid, we've bought an office or we've spent money in the US, which we had done already as well, but our immigration lawyer just advised on an E1 rather than E2. But they both give you exactly the same rights. But I thought we're going to the embassy, it was going to be, you get interrogated.
Interrogation. Yeah. The building looks like that. It looks like a big grey block, doesn't it? Just slaps in the middle of London.
Yeah, it was. So the queuing up to get in. It was right. Oh yeah. Anyway, it was
I was queued for about an hour and a half to get my visa out there. It was horrific.
Yeah. It was. It weren't great. I got there really early, and the queue was massive. Oh fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And then here's a funny story. I got in, was queuing up, got my ticket, and there was a bomb scare in the embassy.
Oh shit!
So there's right, everyone sit against the wall. And we went to sit against the wall. The army come in, and we had guns pointing out the window, looking at different. I think there was a car that had a suspicious vehicle that had been parked. So I was in there for 4 hours.
Way.
Yeah, it was on the day. It was in the Daily Mail.
That's how you know it was a big deal, didn't you? It's in the Daily Mail.
Exactly. But yeah, it was quite scary. I don't know. I was a bit like, well, so at the time I was thinking, someone's telling me something here. Maybe I shouldn't be getting this visa. They're trying to stop me.
Yeah, they do not mess about when it comes to that sort of stuff.
A higher power was talking to me. But yeah, we anyway, then there was no bomb. The army left, and we could roam around as freely. But I thought, yeah, you'd get your number called, and you go into this room, and they just interrogate you around, what is that? What's your business plan? Because you had to write all this stuff out. It was literally, went up to a little booth, and there's oh, okay, so you need a visa. It was like a 30-second conversation, stamped it and left.
Oh no, it pissed me off, because you submit all these docs and that, and they asked me at the window. I got to the window for mine before, and they asked you 3 questions to verify you are who you say you are, And then they just stamp it, and I was like,
Yeah,
"You must be joking! I've queued for 4 hours to be told in 20 seconds that's all fine." I was like, "What?
yeah.
I couldn't believe it!"
Well, exactly. Yeah, I've gone through a bomb scare as well, which is great.
Yeah, gee, you never forget it though.
No, it's good. But that was one of and then from there we got some visas for people to work for us, and that process was quite smooth for them as well. Like it was a lot smoother than I thought it did because I'd heard some horror stories and people were like, oh, it's a nightmare, it's this and that. I think, one thing I would say through this whole process is I think people make a big deal out of international expansion in terms of what you have to go through and the steps you have to take.
Yeah, ain't that
It's
bad.
it's not that bad. And if you want to do it, if you really want to do something, then you'll do it and you'll just get the right advice and you'll get it set up. It's not that hard. Like we started the US market. It weren't because it was just because we wanted to expand into the US. We didn't have any clients. It weren't that we had a client in the UK that could, link us to someone in the US. It was completely cold, completely just right. We're going to go out and do it. And yeah, we did. And now, now I've got the Frost building behind me. So we've finally made it out here, and that's the first step on a much bigger journey. But yeah, I think that one piece I would say is that people make a big deal out of things. I just think you just got to get on with it.
Fair enough, mate. I love it. I love it. I mean, you gave me a good story there about the embassy. It feels like a really good transition into a favourite or a worst story that you've got over the last 5 years of business or so,
Yeah,
or maybe even before that as well. What story you got to share? Because you gave me one earlier on, for the same one?
yeah. I think
Well, then.
I forgot about the bomb scare getting my visa.
That's a good
So
story.
that's a good story. Um,
Yeah.
I remember texting my wife saying, "You never guess what? There's a bomb scare." She's
I
like,
bet
"Oh,
she
yeah."
shit herself when she read that text.
No, she texted me saying back about make sure you pick. Like, it was something like I got to pick something up on the way home or something. It was really like, oh, okay, make
Brilliant.
sure when you're on the way home, can you get? I can't remember what it is. I remember reading it, thinking, oh fuck yeah. But yeah, no, my favourite story is when I tell quite a lot, and it goes back to this mentoring and coaching and the difference. My first, I didn't have the greatest starts to my career. I didn't think I did. I didn't do any placements at all for 6 months. The first placement I did was ironically with my current business partner Matt. He was the consultant. I had a candidate, placed it with him, and then he fell out 2 weeks later. Dennis Nzegwe, his name was. Um, we placed him as a tester for, and he started 2 weeks later, dropped out, so that was great.
Great.
And then it wasn't going very well, and I think moved into, again, I was doing this 360 model. Then I was looking at delivery, like doing more delivery, and then I moved into this last throw of the dice, basically, from the business to say, right, Pat, you've got to, put it out now, or you're going, and moved into this position of selling these services. We just started looking to work in the public sector and with some of the larger consultancies. Started working with the boss, one of the owners at the time, Siri, who took me under his wing and done a couple of placements. It's about 18 months in, and then started to get a little bit of traction. And we was going on lots of meetings, and he was coming with me all the time. And basically, he was leading them, and then I'd say a few words. Sometimes I'd come in, say hello, and then goodbye, and that was it. And Sue would do all the talking, which is fine. And then over a period of time, I'd say more, then I'd be leading them. And then we was coming back from one meeting in particular, and on the way back, he was like, "Look, my goal and what I promised to you is I'm going to help you get to 10k weekly GP." And this was about uh, 8-9 years ago, when that 10k weekly GP now is great, but it was really good then, and it wasn't something that many people would get to. And I was like, all right, cool. And then we worked together, and then again advised me on different things, how to go about sort of my work, how to go about being like how I was as a person, how to conduct myself in meetings, how to work with clients, what to do, and just everything. And then within 6 months of that, I was on 15k a week GP, and then become the company's top biller. And that sort of turning point
Oh,
really then
he kept his
led me.
promise then, hey?
Yeah, 100%. But then that
Excellent.
sort of conversation was a real big turning point for me, because I was like, this person who runs the business, who owns it, who really and truly, after you say it was 18 months of being there, shouldn't really give a fuck about me doing well or not, because I haven't proven myself. I haven't done anything. He shouldn't really keep me in the job, but he's now telling me I'm going to go on to do this. Filled me with belief that I could, and really drove me on. And then that's as we've moved into now going through becoming a consultant, into Bilal, into managing teams, and then running my own business. That's something that's always stuck really like stuck with me, is that feeling that I had when he said that to me, and how he treated me, and how he's helped me develop. I'd love to be able to do that for other people, and seeing people do deals. And we've had people join the business who have come in and then they've been able to buy houses. And one of the guys who works with us now, SN, he's he left for a little while, come back, and he's now running a 20k a week book through. And and that's amazing to me, and obviously through his hard work. But I work a lot with him, and obviously I'm really happy because he's doing business. But it's great to see him as the person he is, and how he's developed and succeed, and to go through. And now he's going on nice holidays, or he's doing great. Like he loves wrestling, so he goes to all different wrestling events and everything else. But like seeing him just being able to, and it's not even the money that he's earning that's a good thing, and the money, but it's how he's gone from how he was when he started to how he now deals with clients and deals with situations, and how he conducts himself in the office. Just seeing that is amazing to me. So that all stems from that original conversation 8 years ago with Siri, with him backing me and showing belief in me. And that's what I want to do for the people that work for Coltech.
Love it. Really cool stuff. Okay, last few questions then. This is a quick fire round then. Favorite influencer on LinkedIn?
I'm not very good at quick fire rounds, Derry.
Really putting you on the spot. Whose content do you see that you enjoy?
I don't know. Loads of people. Trevor Pinder.
That's a new one. I've done before. I know Trevor, but no one said his name before, so I'm sure he'll be delighted.
I like his content. I like Trevor a lot.
What about favourite podcast or book?
The Carrot and the Stick.
That's cheating.
No, genuinely, my favourite podcast that it's two. I like Gary's one, Points of View. I do like that. And Simon Jordan's. Can't remember what it's called now. Something to do with straight talking. But I like Simon Jordan's podcast a lot. And book, I've started reading a lot more recently. So there's a book called The 12-Week Year that I'm reading at the moment, which is really good. The Magic of Big Thinking has been really good for me, and The Power of Positive Thinking has been great. They're 3 books that I've read this year that I really like. And also Matthew McConaughey's book Green Lights, that was great.
Heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so they're 4 that I'd recommend.
Nice. And then the last question I'll ask you, ask you one more after this about plugging yourself, but for now, question I'll ask you to answer, I guess, is if you could give any single piece of advice to other recruitment leaders out there, what would that piece of advice be? Have a plan and stick to it. You like that one, didn't you? Now, after the first few years, that's you in a nutshell. No, I really do. It's because I believe that if we'd have stuck to the structure that we had in the first place, we'd be a lot further on. Not saying that I'm not happy with where we are at the moment, because I am, but I think if we'd have stuck to the original plan, we'd be the business would be slightly different. Nice. We'd probably actually be the same, but maybe slightly bit. I don't know, but I think I would like to have been able to get a plan and stick to it. That's my advice. Wicked. And then if people want to follow you or Coltech's adventures into the States, where should they find you? Where's best? Just LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can see, and the Coltech page is always got information about what we're doing. So yeah, just LinkedIn is the best place. Wicked. Well, mate, it's been a really interesting chat. I really hope Austin proves to go well for you. And when you're over there at some point, I will get over there. We will go for barbecue together.
Yeah.
And it better be as good as you're telling me it is. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I'll take you to Cooper's. We'll go
Let's do it.
back as well. I'll go anywhere, really.
Anywhere that does barbecues on the agenda, mate. For
I'm
sure.
pretty easy. But no,
Wicked.
thanks for having me on, Paderi. Really, really appreciate it, mate.
No worries, mate. Thank you.